I'll call the meeting to order. Good afternoon and welcome to the February 26, 2026 Audit and Finance Committee meeting. We acknowledge that we are on traditional lands of the Treaty 4 territory, a treaty signed with 35 First Nations across southern Saskatchewan and parts of Alberta and Manitoba, and the original lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. The city of Regina owes its strength and vibrancy to these lands and the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory, as well as settlers from around the world who continue to be welcomed here and call Regina home. Some members of the committee and city administration may be attending the meeting today through video conferencing. I would like to remind those members of the following. Please ensure that your video camera and microphone are turned off. If a member of committee wishes to speak, use the raise hand function to be placed into a speaking queue, and when speaking, remember to unmute your microphone and enable your video camera. The deadline to register as a delegation for reports recommended for consideration by City Council is Monday, March 9, 2026 at 12 p.m. As this is the first meeting of the year, I will begin by calling for nominations for chairperson. In accordance with the procedure bylaw number 9004, the chairperson of a main committee of council must be a member of council that has been appointed to the committee. Are there any members of council on the committee that wish to put their name forward, or any members of the committee that wish to nominate a member of council on the committee as chairperson? Jamie Eng. I'm sorry, say that again.
I would like to nominate Councillor George Siegless.
Councillor Slicklese, do you accept? Okay. Any other nominations? Oh. Councillor Mancinelli, go ahead.
Should we unmute him?
Councillor Mancinelli, are you unmuted? Just 1 second here, Councillor Mancinelli. Sorry, we can't hear you.
Try picking a different speaker.
No. Can you try again, Councillor Mancinelli?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can. Yeah.
Okay. I was saying I'd like to put my name in the hat. Although I wouldn't know how to chair today for Mexico, I would be able to attend the rest of the meetings.
Okay. Before we conduct a vote, is there any other nominations? Before we conduct a vote, I'll provide each nominee the opportunity to express why they wish to be appointed as chairperson. Councillor Slicklese.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I think that there are a couple of main things that I've been thinking about with respect to ANF that might be important to talk about today. And I'd love to pass on what I've learned in the corporate world here. One of them is on the risk management side. That's something I wanted to talk about later today, whether I'm chair or not. And I think that is a big driver of some of the items that we need to look at in 2026 and beyond. The second is that I ran on financial accountability and a strengthening of the internal auditor, wanting to turn that office into the office of an auditor general, something stronger than what it was before. And knowing that we went 25 years without one was a concern for me and for my residents. So I ran very strongly in my ward, and I think probably got elected on the financial piece, and very happy that we were able to double Dina Carr's staff complement, and hoping we can put them to good use in 2026 and beyond. So those two items alone, I think, are a big piece of why I wanted to chair ANF for 2026. The third piece, I think, is to try and synthesize a lot of the things that we've been talking about over the last year and the hard work we've put into our strategic plan. If you take a look at our strategic plan, it's actually kind of funny. If you look at all the different sections, the parts on finance have the least amount of words on them. I don't know what that means, but if we take a look at it later today and you read it for yourself, you'd wonder whether finance was an afterthought or not, and I do not want that to be. I think audit and finance is a critical part of what we do, and I want to be leader of that if I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Siklis. Councillor Mancinelli?
I'm interested in being chair of audit and finance, having chaired the committee in the past. I helped form the committee. Agree with Councillor Siklis quite a bit about the need for an auditor within the city. As previous chair, I helped enable that position, as well as the tracking and quarterly reporting. I put a lot of hard work into getting that formulated with an unfriendly city manager in the previous session. I stepped back from being chair, or trying to be chair last time, to allow newcomers to, kind of acclimate into city council and become part of things. I didn't want to be too heavy on people and make sure that, I wasn't trying to puff my feathers up too much and push people around. But I think my past experience, understanding of the committee from previous council sessions, as well as both why it was folded in and restarted in the previous council, will help this committee grow and become stronger for how it handles its position within the city council and city administration. I do have a couple of pretty good ideas about the manpower necessary for the committee, as well as what success would look like. I worked hard in last session through many council meetings to get this committee formulated to what it is right now. And so I kind of hope to continue that if given the chance.
Thank you. We will now conduct the vote by secret ballot. Ballots are confidential and will be destroyed following the meeting.
I know it's a secret, but I think I'm going to go vote for me. Should I just text that to you? You can consider that my vote if that's okay.
Thank you, Councillor Mancinelli. I'll just let you know that if you are elected chair, the vice chair would have to chair the meeting today in your absence from the chamber. Okay, Councillor Siklis is appointed chairperson of the Audit and Finance Committee for 2026. I will ask that you now assume the chair.
Thanks very much, everybody. And Councillor Mancinelli, I hope those couple ideas you're talking about are still going to come. We need them. And you're a valuable person of the team with your experience beyond our 1 year and a bit. Let's start with nominations for vice chairperson. Is someone going to move a nominee for vice chair? Mr. Mayor?
I'd like to move Councillor Mancinelli as vice chair.
Councillor Mancinelli, if you can hear us and want to chime in, will you accept that nomination?
Sure. And congratulations, George. I'm happy to be vice chair.
Thank you. I'm happy for you to be vice chair too. So, yeah, any other nominations? I guess we jumped the gun on that one a little bit.
Not vice chair.
Sorry. I think there's so many people in the room. There's more people in the gallery than there are in the horseshoe. Are we on TV? We are. Okay. God, I should have combed my hair. All right. So, by acclamation then, Councillor Mancinelli is appointed as Vice Chairperson of the Audit and Finance Committee for 2026. Congratulations. Okay. Can I have someone move a motion to approve the agenda at the call of the chair with the following single adjustment to add item AFC 26-2, Banking Service Agreement, as urgent business? Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I'll move that.
Excellent. I'll call the question. Any opposed? Carried. Can I have someone move a motion to adopt the revised minutes of the public meeting held back on November 27th, 2025? Councillor Bizo? Any errors or omissions? All good. Okay, I'll call the question. Any opposed? Carried. All right, straight into admin reports. We may set the record for the shortest meeting ever, the way we're going. One moment. So we're going to consider the first item and the only item on the agenda, AFC 26-1. There's two items? Oh, there's -2 as well, sorry. Debt update, including library debt options. I'll ask CFO and Deputy City Manager Darren Anderson to please introduce the report. Go ahead, Darren.
Thank you and congratulations, Chair.
Thank you.
This report is in response to direction provided by to administration from City Council during the 2026 budget deliberations. City Council requested updated debt tables that only include City Council approved projects that have approved debt funding to determine the remaining debt room. Based on approved capital projects with approved debt as a funding source, this report indicates the City of Regina will have approximately $39 million of debt room available in 2030. City Council also requested that administration provide a recommendation regarding debt options for the Central Library Renewal Project. Administration recommends that City Council provide direction to Regina Public Library to continue to request approval for a 5.5% annual mill rate increase until the Regina Public Library has accumulated sufficient funds for the Central Library Renewal Project and/or there is debt room available. Thank you, and we submit this report for your consideration and are open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Can I have someone move the report? Mr. Mayor, go ahead. Would you like to speak to the report?
Yes, please. Okay, thank you for the report. And I know I had a bit of conversation before we got started here. And maybe I'll just get, just as a starting point to kind of baseline this, I'd maybe get admin just to read out the motion part as to just what was asked, just to provide context to my next question. So, because I think it clarified some of what we're seeing, and then it'll clarify my ask going forward. Just that, and mainly the point number 2, but yeah.
The one I read out to you earlier.
Yes.
So it says, report back to City Council in the first quarter of 2026 on the following. Information respecting available debt limit to be allocated towards the Central Library Renewal capital project, and recommendations to City Council with options to vote on City Council approval or denial of debt allocations towards the Central Library Renewal Project.
Perfect. So that was the context I was looking for. So I think from what my kind of perspective, I think there was maybe an intention of that original motion that was brought forward that was maybe missed. And the context of that is, in talking with our library board, is I think the intention was really to provide the information so that the library board could consider what options would be available to them, and for them to bring that forward for council's consideration at the end of the day through that regulatory process. So with that, I'll just maybe make a couple comments, but I ultimately would like to refer this back to admin and work with admin to kind of frame this a little bit more, which I think was the intent, to provide the information with the original intent of that motion, I believe. But just a couple questions, or I guess a couple comments on that. Is there a clear line when we assign debt? Like, I think we've talked about like a bylaw sometimes is like the line in the sand, but is it like our budget process that locks in the debt for us? Is it when the bylaw is signed? I guess just get some clarity around when is the debt officially allocated for a debt capacity.
Thank you for the question, Mayor, through the chair. So yeah, this motion really cleaned up that. There was some uncertainty as to when we were holding debt room for different projects, and what this motion that was approved at budget time has done is said only items that are approved capital projects through the budgeting process that require debt as part of the budget would be put on our official debt plan, I guess to call it that. And then we would be able to calculate how much additional debt room we have against our cap. So that's what this report has done, is that it has removed everything that doesn't have an official approval through council, through our budgeting process and our capital plan, and shows when we expect to issue that debt and the available debt room as we make payments down on existing debt, etc. And so that's the clarity we have now, is that this ties directly back to the approved capital plan in the budget that we did in December.
Okay, gotcha. So through the budget process, so if, for example, the library with an independent board, if they, like, just from a timing perspective, if a project, like if they were coming forward to ask for debt, do they have to do it during the budget process, or could they do it throughout the year depending on the cadence of a project, let's say? Just you know what I mean? Like, just, is there flexibility there?
Through the chair. So yeah, so every council meeting is essentially a budget meeting. Council can add things to the capital plan at any time.
Okay.
And then we would be reconsidered at budget time, right, in the full picture of the whole city. But yes, there is opportunities for council to add things to the capital plan and assign debt room to them as well.
Okay. Okay, and well, my intention is to refer this back to just to maybe tweak or add a little bit more context. Some of the information I was looking to get out of this for the library board for consideration was just some scenarios. So a scenario where, what would our debt capacity look like if some of the funding that we've asked for from other levels of government, if that happened? Not a guarantee, obviously, but just to like some scenarios to work with, and then some timelines that if that were to come to fruition, what would that look like? Just to give, again, the library board the most fulsome picture we can in terms of what may or may not or could be expected, so that they can make strategic decisions on, their priorities and their allocation. So is that something that would be possible to kind of add in there if we were to refer this back?
Through the chair, yeah, definitely. If the committee, sorry, I was going to say council, if the committee wanted us to come back with some options of what would happen to the debt room, and say 2 scenarios if we received the 2 funding amounts that we've applied for through the CHIF program, I believe, we could do that. I would flag that there is also table 4, though, that the library is part of. So it would just be part of that crew of projects that aren't on the official debt limit, but we can do that.
Okay, so with that, I'd like to, I'll just maybe ask recommendation. I'll make a recommendation to refer this back. Is that the right wording?
Recommend that council refer it back.
The motion on the floor was concurrence when you moved the report, but if you'd like to withdraw that and move a referral motion, that this committee recommend that city council refer it back to the administration.
I would like to do that.
I can put that on the screen to wordsmith.
Sure.
Just drop for a second, people watching before. Thanks.
Yeah. So, and now I'll maybe get Mr. Anderson to help if I get this wrong. But to where is this? Yeah, to provide additional debt scenarios based on CHIF funding applications. Sir, I'll let you help me with that.
Through the chair, so yeah, I would say it would refer back to administration to prepare a scenario if the CHIF funding applied for was granted.
Thank you. CHIF. Yeah. No, it's for another project. For other project, it opens up capacity. Yeah. So, does that look okay to you, Mr. Anderson?
Through the chair, yeah, that looks good to us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And a timeline?
So through the chair, we would be prepared. So if council were to recommend this at the next council meeting and approve this, then we could be prepared to bring it to the March A&F meeting. And then we just need to do the public disclosure, but we should be fine. So it would come back in March. Just to clarify then, it wouldn't actually get back to council until Q2, but given that this is mayor and council directed, I think we've probably met our obligation as administration.
Yeah, and just to be clear, it's really to try and because again, the way the motion was originally written, I think it caused some questions just around that, but I can see the way it was written, why it came up that way as we were discussing. So, so I think with those scenarios and then with the context of the original motion, I understand where that's coming from. Ultimately, just to be clear, it would be the library board to take that back and decide how they move forward with that information. Would that be correct?
Through the chair, so that would be up to council to direct. And yeah, council can change the recommendation that administration has put forward at that time. but we're just responding to what's on the floor now.
Okay. Yeah, and I understand that's due to the original motion. Okay. Okay. So I have I've withdrawn the original and then put forward the referral. Okay. And then, sorry, can you just scroll up to the to point 1 there? Okay. Okay. I'll maybe pause there. What do I need to do anything else on the putting the referring it back? Okay. Okay.
Mr. Anderson, what do you think of that?
Through the chair, that's good with us.
Okay, thank you. No problem. Can we open it up to some questions from the team? All right. Any questions on what we just did there? It's okay if you have them. New guy, you're okay? Thanks, Jim. Everybody good? All right. Do we need to vote? All right. We'll do that manually. Old school? Yeah. Okay. Mr. Mayor, would you like to close debate? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, just super briefly, just to reiterate, at the library board, there was concerns about the way the recommendation was written. But after reviewing the actual motion from council, it made it much more clear why it was written the way it was. I appreciated Min's efforts to try and navigate the intent of the motion, but have to realize the actual words of the motion. So thank you for that. I'm hoping that by referring this back, we can find a balance, get all the information that I think we need to get back to the library board and give them the best information possible going forward. So thank you guys for helping with that.
Okay, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote.
Jamie Eng,
In favor.
Mayor Baczynski,
In favor.
Councillor Bezo,
Yep.
Jim Follows,
In favor.
Councillor Mancinelli,
In favor.
and yourself, Mr. Chair.
In favor.
And the referral motion carries.
Our first decision of 2026 is unanimous. That's a good sign. Okay. All right. Let's move on to AFC 26-2, Banking Service Agreement. I'll ask CFO and Deputy City Manager Darren Anderson to please introduce the report. Go ahead, Darren.
Thank you, and through the chair. At the last executive committee meeting of council, we brought forward a recommendation around our banking agreement in order to extend that agreement 10 years with annual renewals, and that was passed at council yesterday. The carve out on that, as well as we had asked to increase our line of credit from currently just under $10 million to $20 million as recommended by the investment committee here at the city. And that was referred by council to this meeting. So therefore, we are submitting that request to the committee, and we are open for questions and conversation.
Thank you. Any questions from the team? Oh, we need a mover first. Yes. Mr. Procedure here. Can I get a motion to move the report? Someone to move the report. Mr. Fallows, would you like it to be you? Excellent. Thank you. Do you have anything to say on the report?
Just a few things. I'm obviously supportive of the idea of increasing the amount of the line of credit. I know in the document it refers to a section of the Cities Act that provides essentially like a second debt limit, a much lower debt limit on the amount of short-term borrowing that a city can do. I think it's useful just to understand why that exists. So the reason that piece of legislation exists is to limit the risk of a city borrowing too much short-term debt, getting in over its head. And the reason something like that might happen would be because short-term rates are usually lower than long-term rates. So maybe today's short-term rates are 3%, 30-year debt maybe costs 5%. There would be a temptation, not a very good temptation, but a temptation to say, well, we have a debt limit of X, let's just borrow it all at 3%. Let's just borrow it all short-term. That would be like taking out a mortgage on your house, but borrowing all the money on a floating rate line of credit, right? You might save money by doing that, but there's a lot of risk to doing that. So there is this limit on how much short-term debt we can have. But speaking to the question here, the idea of raising the amount that we have, that's a good thing because you do want to have some short-term debt. Not having any short-term debt or any short-term debt capacity is also very risky. Because what can happen is, even if you have debt capacity, even if you have room in your debt limit, it doesn't mean you can necessarily go to the market and borrow money. You might have the legal authority to borrow that money, but there might not be anybody to borrow the money from. And specific examples of where that's happened, we've had a couple of crises. We've had the COVID pandemic. We had that global financial crisis. What happened at those times is cities and provinces were briefly locked out of the market. In other words, they were unable to borrow money. They were unable to borrow money because investors at times of great crisis are scared. They don't want to lock up their money for 30 years. They want to put their money in the bank. So those things happen infrequently, but when they do, this type of debt, this short-term debt capacity is really, really important. That's when Treasury staff really earn their money, and they have to juggle things to make sure checks don't bounce, to make sure payroll gets met. And the way that they do that, they look at their overdraft, they look at their cash in the bank, but they also rely on this short-term debt. So I'm fully supportive of the idea of increasing the amount. Just one very last point. I know that Section 136 that restricts the amount that we can borrow, it's very old provincial legislation, like it dates to 2002. Like this is from way before the global financial global financial crisis or COVID. And I don't know if the province is thinking about opening up the Cities Act, but I would hope that they might become at some point less restrictive, like allow you to borrow even more short term, just to have that extra layer of protection, that extra layer of liquidity. But anyways, that's a long way of saying that I'm in favor of what's being proposed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fallows. Councillor Bezo?
Yeah, thank you very much. Through the chair, Mr. Anderson, when you brought this to council a short while ago, you mentioned it was for liquidity. I 100% understand what Mr. Fallows says, and I support, and I have my own lines of credit for liquidity. Are we looking at any risk out there? Our new chair is really focusing on risk. What kind of risks are we having out there? Now, risks are numerous, but what is an immediate risk that we would need this liquidity for? Or is this just to prepare ourselves to structure it different?
Through the chair. So yeah, this line is for liquidity risk management purposes. We have not used this very often in the past. One way that we have used this operationally was we self-funded the water network expansion before we did the debt funding. So council back in 2022, I believe, wanted to fast track that project, and we ended up getting the debt last year for it. So in order to self-fund it, we needed to liquidate investments. But you don't want to have to liquidate investments in a hurry. So what we did is we temporarily borrowed from the line of credit while we patiently liquidated our investments, because you don't want to end up having to take an unnecessary loss on your investments in order just to have cash management. So that's one risk we're mitigating, is that you would have a risk of having to realize unwarranted market losses just due to cash management. Other things would be, as Mr. Fallows pointed out, there's lots of risks in the world that we need to be prepared to withstand. One example would be some type of cybersecurity event. So if at some point we were under attack and we needed to lock down our investment accounts or lock down our other available cash, we want to have access to money so we can continue to pay bills like payroll and other things. $20 million is roughly 1 month's worth of payroll. So it's not a lot of money, to Mr. Fallows' point, for a liquidity line. But we believe it's prudent that we increase it from 9, because the just under 10 that it's at right now, because we don't feel that that's a big enough buffer.
Okay, thank you. The one aspect that, through the chair, that you mentioned, definitely project, fast tracking a project. Would there be enough liquidity in what we would have? It's called the general reserve to cover risks, as mentioning, or is this specifically for a project, or is this specifically for unknowns? Because one thing is a project, one thing is operational. So the project, if somebody fast tracked a project, there was an order of project sequencing that was maybe miscommunicated, or something was determined, because it's not like a pipeline wears out overnight or something happens overnight. So a project was not communicated well to fast track that project. So if we have the operational reserve right now, which is there for liquidity in the event of operations requirement, the question still comes down to what other risks are we looking at? I know there's cyber risk. Is there any project risk out there that we don't know about that this could be used for liquidity?
Through the chair. So there's always a list of unknown risks that's never going to go away. And that list could be infinite. I would say in your specific example around project financing and what happened there. So the general fund reserve is an accounting reserve. And so it allows us to allocate funds that we have. In physical terms, it's not a bank account. So there's no reserve bank account with cash in it. That's an accounting reserve. From a cash perspective, what we try and do is have enough cash in our operating account to not have to use the operating line. So as a treasury department, as a finance department right now, our liquidity risk management tolerance is not to actively use the line of credit in terms of normal business. So when we do cash management and cash forecasts, we try to ensure that 2 months, etc., worth of bills we have sitting in liquid cash. What can happen though is if something comes up where we would need to liquidate investments in a hurry, so a large project, we may decide that operationally it is more advantageous to use the line of credit in a short-term period to avoid market disruption. We'll be talking about a large project. So the water network expansion was a $170 million project that occurred over 2 years. And council at the time decided that we would self-finance that. So from a cash management perspective, that means we need to liquidate investments, because what we're trying to do as a treasury team is maximize our investment income. So we want to only hold as much cash as we need. We don't want to sit on cash making a low return just in case something happens. That's where the line of credit really allows us to fully utilize all the tools in the tool shed to maximize our returns while still being solvent. Because obviously we do not want to miss payments on our debt, miss payments to suppliers, and definitely don't want to miss payroll.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I like the plan. I do have 2 more questions. One is what guardrails do we have in place, or would we put in place? Like you mentioned before, I like the fact that you said we really do not want to touch this line of credit. So at what point do we say we have to have some guardrails in place? Everything, of course, comes to A&F and to council for approvals. But then what do we have for mechanisms besides a mill rate increase to pay this thing back if we need to use it?
So through the chair, there would be no long-term requirement at this point. It would just simply be taking cash out of an investment account, right? So we have roughly $300 million in investments. So $20 million. If we had to max out our line of credit and then pay it back the next month, we would simply be prudent in liquidating some of our investments to replenish that cash over time. So there would be, because this is short-term in nature, it should never require any kind of mill rate to pay back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bezo. Next, Mr. Aang, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, thank you, Darren, for all the updated information. Just to give yourself or the designate more flexibility, if BMO does not negotiate well with yourself with this increase, could we allow the CFO or the designate to shop around to other financial institute? Or are we just handicapped to BMO at the moment?
Through the chair, I would recommend we go in private to discuss commercial terms at this point, so that I don't want that out in the open if we have to get into negotiations. So I would recommend the committee make a recommendation to go private to discuss this.
Recommendation?
Yeah, I'd like to make that recommendation to speak in camera.
Okay.
All those opposed?
Anyone opposed? Let's do it. We'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you and welcome back. The committee was in camera discussing some private commercial banking information, and no decisions were made. So we're back at it. Where were we? Any more questions on the item AFC 26-2, Banking Service Agreement? Okay, I might ask a couple that may be tied to this. One of them is risk management. I guess I'll ask our CFO to start. Do we have a risk management document that you can share with us at the next meeting? And would any risk document that we have include our line of credit explicitly in it?
Through the chair, so at this time, we don't have a risk management program at the city. We don't have an enterprise risk management system. We are tasked in finance with managing liquidity risk, and that's why we are coming to you for this line of credit today, but we do not have a document that holistically outlines the risks that the organization holds or how they get parsed out. We don't have a second line of defense, essentially, banking terminology.
Okay, I will take that offline with our entire admin team and with Jim, and maybe we can start something this year. I was thinking this is the first of, 12 meetings that we have? We only have 12 chances to do the best we can for the residents of this city. That's not a lot of chances, so we got to make all of them count. I thought so far the discussion has been great. One question that I hope is not taken personally is what controls does City Council and by extension the public have on our use of the temporary funds in the line of credit? Do you have to come to us similar to any check that has to be cut above $750,000 to use the line of credit?
Through the chair, I don't believe that is the case. I believe we would have been delegated authority to use the line of credit from a liquidity management standpoint.
Okay, and would that be normal? I wouldn't know that. Just asking as a...
I would say that
Mr. Fells, go ahead.
yes, I would say that is normal. In fact, and maybe one way to think of the line of credit is almost as a form of overdraft protection. Like it's a negative bank balance. It's just part of your day-to-day cash management. It's a resource there if you need it. So from a risk management perspective, it's a tool that's available to the city.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions about that? Okay, who moved this report? I don't remember. Oh, Mr. Fallows, would you like to close debate?
Sure, what do I have to do that?
You have to say no. I know it doesn't make any sense.
No.
Okay. If you have final comments, you can make them.
I have no final comments.
And if you'd like to close debate, you say no.
No.
And that's how we close debate. Ask Jim how that works. All right. I'll ask the clerk to start the vote on this piece.
Councillor Bezo,
In favor.
Jim Follows,
In favor.
Jamie Yang, Mayor Baczynski,
In favor.
Councillor Mancinelli,
In favor.
and yourself, Mr. Chair.
In favor.
Thank you. The motion carries.
Before we adjourn, I'd like an update from our internal auditor. I'd like to invite Dina Carr to come up. Why not? Can't do that? No. Okay, well, then I guess we can't ask you, but you're going to be on the next one. So be ready for double talk on the next one. Thank you, Dina. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Whoa, you guys want to stay? Oh, Mr. Mayor. I will call the question. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much. And good night.
See you guys.